Let's get into it. It's crime o'clock, yeah, feel that sound. Typically unique when the truth comes out. Tick-tock, won't stop, let the facts talk. Pull up real close, yeah, it's crime o'clock. Clock, clock, yeah. Typically music, neon signs glow, brick wall behind me. Headlines loud, but they never define me. They rush the story, skip the proof. I slow it down, let it show the truth. Files on deck, read every line. Timestamps matter, so does time. If it don't fit, I don't force the frame. Ask one question, whole story change. No fear my voice, no need to shout. Paper speaks when you read it out. If the math's off, I'll circle twice. Truth ain't loud, but it ain't nice. Yeah. Read it again. It's crime o'clock, yeah. Feel that sound. Typically unique when the truth comes out. Tick tock, won't stop. Let the facts talk. Pull up real close, yeah. It's crime o'clock. It's crime o'clock. Read it again. They sell a narrative if I sell receipts. Courtroom quiet, but the pages speak. Word for word, no added spin. Let it stand, yeah. Let that sink in. Screenshot save, timeline's tight. Missing pieces keep me up at night. If they say elected, I say why. If they say case closed, I say try. No rush here, we do it right. Truth don't bend for the likes of hype. If you came for noise, you in the wrong spot. This is evidence, this is crime o'clock. Clock, clock, clock. Stay with me. This isn't background noise. This is pattern recognition. This is documents. This is crime o'clock. It's crime o'clock, yeah. Feel that sound. Typically unique when the truth comes out. Tick tock, won't stop. Let the facts talk. Say it with me now. Crime o'clock. It's crime o'clock. Typically unique. It's crime o'clock. Yeah. If you're here, you're early. If you're listening, you're paying attention. Show starts now.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crime O'Clock on Typically Unique. I'm Kim, and we are going to get into it. I had to take a minute and calm down because I was triggered. To be honest, one of our mottos is real talk around here, real talk. So before we get into today's episode, on our agenda, we have information. I am intrigued, and I feel it's very important to learn about this El Mencho cartel guy and what's going on in Mexico. It does have implications in our country, and I think how, there's a lot of information I don't think we understand. I think it's important. So that's one of the things. And then, of course, Nancy Guthrie. I will start with Savannah's latest post that she has out there. But those of you that have been around me for a while probably know, and if you've watched my old videos, mine and my husband's old videos, we've gone through it with the medical system and mental health care system for one of our children. And oh my, I have been holding so much in about that, and this is not the show to get into it. But I now have a loved one who's now going through some of the same stuff, and with their child that oh my God, it's such a complicated story. But that, just long story short, that mental health care system failed us miserably, and I have lots of strong feelings about that. And to watch someone else be failed over and over and over again just set me off for a minute this morning. So to any of you out there that can relate, my heart goes out to you. If you work in that industry, this isn't a blanket statement over, everybody in that system, because we also shared a lot of information about wonderful people that helped us try to manage our way through it. So I know there's good and bad in every industry, but okay. Let's get into some true crime. I'll say hello to everybody that's hopped in here. Caius, hello. SRB, Blue Devil, Christina. Who else did I see? Beach Babe, good morning. Italian Girl, hello. Was that you that was up on panel on Dago's yesterday? It was so nice to see you. We got green team members in here. Italian Girl and Beach Babe and Caius. Peep Peep. Those are the unique peeps, our green members. All right. Angela. Halo. Hello. Good morning. Massachusetts. Hey there. All right. Hey, Mike. Okay. Let me pull up the latest with Savannah here. Oh, that's not what I want. This is what I want. Uh-oh. Is Google running slow? Here we go. Okay, so oh no, I saved it in my playlist. Savannah. Oh my God. Well, I'm going to pull up your email, Christina. I thought I had it ready to go. Woo, you're a lifesaver. Lifesaver. So Savannah posted a Instagram message. She's putting out her own reward. I want to get right to it. There we go. Right here. Okay. New reward amount, and seems like they're coming to terms with the condition of their mom, what they think may. I did, Christina. I did. Thank you very much. You came through, girl. I thought I had one queued up, and I don't know where it went. It's in the Ethernet somewhere. There we go.
Since our mom was taken in the dark of night from her bed.
All right, backing it up a little bit.
I'm coming on to say it is day 24 since our mom was taken in the dark of night from her bed. And every hour and minute and second and every long night has been agony since then.
Hi, John. I see you.
Worrying about her, and fearing for her, aching for her, and most of all, just missing her. Just missing her. We know that millions of you have been praying. So many people have been praying, of every faith and no faith at all, praying for her return. And we feel those prayers. Please keep praying without ceasing. We still believe. We still believe in a miracle. We still believe that she can come home. Hope against hope. As my sister says, we are blowing on the embers of hope. We also know that she may be lost. She may already be gone. She may have already gone home to the Lord that she loves and is dancing in heaven with her mom and her dad and with her beloved brother Pierce and with our daddy. And if this is what is to be, then we will accept it. But we need to know where she is. We need her to come home. For that reason, we are offering a family reward of up to $1 million for any information that leads us to her recovery. All of the information about this reward and the details is in the caption below. You can call the 1-800-TIP line. You can be anonymous if you want. Someone out there knows something that can bring her home. Somebody knows. We are begging you to please come forward now. We also know that we are not alone in our loss. We know there are millions of families that have suffered with this kind of uncertainty. And for that reason today, we also are donating $500,000 to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children for their work in helping families who are coping with loss and actively looking for those who are lost. We are hoping that the attention that has been given to our mom and our family will extend to all the families like ours who are in need and need prayers and need support. So please, if you hear this message, if you've been waiting and you haven't been sure, let this be your sign to please come forward, tell what you know, and help us bring our beloved mom home so that we can either celebrate a glorious, miraculous homecoming or celebrate the beautiful, brave, and courageous and noble life that she has lived. Please be the light in the dark. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to watch that one more time, but make sure I have.
Okay, so a lot was said in that message. She made sure to mention her sister. Her sister's definitely a poet with that line about blowing on the embers of hope. I love that line. Very poetic. Mentioning her sister, kind of telling. Very heartfelt message. I mean, my heart just goes out to Savannah. We're all feeling the way she is. Trying to find her mom alive. Gosh, we all hope for that. What a miracle that would be. But facing the reality that that may not be the case. We saw one of her previous messages where it was pretty evident that reality seemed to have landed on them. I don't know if they got information hinting at that or telling them that, or if it was just because the amount of time that had gone by. I have heard that the family has hired a private investigator. That's just kind of like chatter out on the internet. I don't know if that's verified or not, but I think that's a good move if it is. And maybe that private investigator persuaded them to finally put out this reward. What do you guys think about that? She did say up to $1 million. So that's kind of a little, is it going to be on a sliding scale based on the outcome? That's interesting. I love that they're, even in their moment of they're still in the midst of this, you know, they don't have any resolution. They are bringing attention to the missing children, like all the other people that are missing out there, and putting money towards that organization. So, because Savannah's getting all the attention. Her mom's getting all the attention right now. And there's other missing children out there. In fact, I think it was in Avondale, Arizona. Caius had shared this with me. Thanks, Caius. There was a little 2-year-old, Saturday night, was taken out of her home in the middle of the night, and they knew right away. An Amber Alert went out. They knew who took her. So this family had taken in, they described her as a vagrant. So a young girl, a young adult woman, was staying with this family, and she took the toddler out of the home. She was caught on surveillance camera somewhere in the town that night, but the little girl was just found. It was kind of a heroic story. The woman and the child were at a business. I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it was a store. I think it was a store, something like that. And the woman was driving a car or something, and some movers had moving trucks, and someone recognized the woman, but I don't know if they were going to actually do anything. But then they told one of the moving guys, and the moving guys were like, look, if this was my kid, you know, I'm not going to ignore this. I'm going to do something. So they took their trucks and they blocked in her vehicle so she couldn't leave. And they called the police, and they got the girl, the little 2-year-old, back, and she's physically, you know, okay. And that was that's a great feel good story. The woman that took her, you know, had paraphernalia on her, was under the influence of substances, and she didn't even really give an explanation why she took the child. So, but yeah, happy ending there. They do happen. So, and thanks to concerned citizens, right? Thanks for the reminder, Offie, hitting that like button. Yeah, everybody hit the like, please, on your way in. All right, one other thing about Savannah's message. I'm going to share this. Is it showing up? Yep, I got to make it bigger. So this is under, oh, wait a minute. Well, I can make it bigger after I read the top. So this is under Savannah's Instagram post. Under that message we just watched, it says, Savannah Guthrie, someone knows how to find our mom and bring her home. Call 1-800-CALL-FBI. And then it's got the phone number, 1-800-225-5324. You can remain anonymous or find a way to reach out to me. And then she put a note, family reward of up to $1 million will be paid only for recovery of Nancy Guthrie, consistent with FBI criteria for payment of its reward in this case. And then they put the link for what that is. And then they also put the link for supporting other families of the missing. So that's nice. So you can see that. That's under the video. Okay. All right. So yesterday, if you were in the live, we talked a lot about Puerto Vallarta and what's been going on there. I don't know. I was gonna, I could only choose so many things to share during the show. I saw a video that was headlined that private institutions or citizens are banding together to help rescue the stranded tourists that are in Puerto Vallarta. So I was like, oh my goodness, that looks like a crazy story to follow, how they're getting these people out of Puerto Vallarta. everything that's going on in Mexico seems to be like it's over on the western side of the country and south. And south up the eastern part of Mexico a little bit to about the midway part of the country. So it's not everywhere, but so what triggered that was the killing of El Mencho, so this cartel guy. And everybody we had a lot of discussion about the cartels and everything yesterday and who did it. Like, who did this, I think, is the biggest question. And like, what's the impact going to be? Because we know this is all about the drug smuggling and the drug industry and who's their biggest client. A lot of it's coming into the United States, but this guy, his story is, it's fascinating. Where he came from, what he came from, what actually happened to him, and then how this is going to impact globally. This guy had his cartel reached into like 40 different countries. Like, it was massive, and it gets into our politics and our governments and why they went after him. That's what's this retaliation going to be. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. A couple short videos I'm going to show. And then we're going to get into some Nancy Guthrie information. You heard that they found a girlfriend of his, and that is how they got him. Possibly, I'm sure he had girlfriends. He was also married. And I don't know, even this video that I have has pretty good information in it. They're speculating on how they possibly could have got to him, but someone had to give up some information, right? Someone had to do it. All right. So hopefully this video is going to be okay to play. This photo right here, I was looking for photos of him to put on my thumbnail. Excuse me for a second. This is on a t-shirt. One thing that I learned about his cartel is when he started his part of it, they really targeted the young kids, and they made it almost like they're trying to recruit the young kids. So they got to make everything cool, right? So this is a t-shirt. They've got music. They've got, all kinds of the cool things that they try to get the kids interested in. So, yeah.
The DEA has a $15 million bounty on his head.
Oh, I went too far.
A compound.
Yep, it starts right away. Here we go. Disclaimer.
February 22nd, 2026, 4 a.m., the mountains of southern Jalisco, Mexico. Somewhere in the dark, in a compound carved into the Sierra, the most wanted drug lord alive is sleeping. Two governments have been hunting him for over a decade. The DEA has a $15 million bounty on his head, one of the largest in the history of American law enforcement. Interpol knows his name. The CIA has drones in the sky above his country. And still, for years, this man has been a ghost. Fewer than 3 confirmed photographs of him exist, all of them decades old. In every intelligence briefing, every wanted poster, every classified file, the same grainy image of a man nobody can find. His name is Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes.
Cervantes. Hey, Offie, welcome into the Unique Peeps gang over here. Gang. That's our little saying. Yeah. Welcome. Did you see? I got to play this for you. Here's my new little thank you. See what you think.
Clock it. So I gotta say thank you.
Clock it.
Clock it. Welcome. We're the good kind of gang, not this kind of gang that we're watching. Okay, so what we've learned so far, there's only like 3 photos of this guy that exist. Like, and you'll hear this guy, like, he's kind of opposite of the person he took over for. He took over after El Chapo, I believe. And El Chapo was all about like being in the media. He did an interview in the jungle with Sean Penn or somebody. I think that was him. But this guy was like, he didn't want to exist. He wanted to stay hidden. Hey, Kane, don't tell mom.
The world knows him as El Mencho. By sunrise, he will be wounded and bleeding in a military aircraft, dying somewhere above the Mexican highlands. By nightfall, 6 states will be on fire. This is his last 24 hours. (1966), a village buried deep in the mountains of Michoacán, Mexico. No electricity, no paved roads. A place so remote, most maps don't bother naming it. That's where Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes was born on the 17th of July. He never made it past the 5th grade. By the time other kids were learning to read, he was in the fields, picking avocados under the Michoacán sun, one of 6 brothers in a family that had nothing. This was Tierra Caliente, the hot land, a region where the 2 things that grow best are avocados and organized crime. He left before he was 20, crossed the border illegally into California.
That's crazy. So he grew up in a spot where, how did he word it? The things that grow best are avocados and organized crime. Like, that looked like a rough place to grow up. These pictures are fascinating.
No papers, no plan, just hunger. 1986, San Francisco. A teenager gets picked up by police. Stolen property, a loaded firearm. The booking photo shows a kid who looks barely old enough to shave. Not a kingpin, not a threat, just another undocumented migrant caught in the wrong place. They deported him. He came back. 1989, arrested again, narcotics this time. Deported again. He came back again. By September of 1992, he was 26 years old and moving low-level heroin in the Bay Area with his older brother, Abraham. One night, the 2 brothers walked into the Imperial Bar on San Francisco's rough edge of the Tenderloin to close a deal. 5 ounces of heroin, $9,500. The buyers paid in clean bills, too clean, too neat, stacked perfectly the way real street money never is. Nemesio noticed. He told Abraham, "These men are cops. Walk away." He was right. It was already too late. 3 weeks later, federal agents arrested both brothers on drug trafficking charges. In court, Nemesio made the choice that would define everything that followed. Abraham already carried 2 felony convictions. A third would likely mean life. So Nemesio pleaded guilty, took the weight, protected his brother. He told the court by all accounts to give him the minimum. She gave him 5 years. He served 3 at Big Spring Correctional Center in West Texas.
All right, so that's a crazy part of his history is that, okay, so he was always getting into the United States, getting arrested for drugs, and you could see the escalation of what he was doing. And then this was like a turning moment for him, saving his brother, taking the fall, going to prison so that his brother didn't have to. So that's what happened in that case.
A federal prison built to house undocumented immigrants. 1997, deported back to Mexico, 31 years old, convicted felon, banned from the United States for life. Most men in that position disappear into the margins. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes did something nobody saw coming. He became a cop, joined the local police force in Cabo Corrientes and Tomatlan, Jalisco, wore the uniform, carried the badge.
Isn't that crazy, you guys? He gets banned from the United States, goes back to Mexico, and becomes a cop. I told you, like, that culture down there is just so intertwined with the cartel. But why do you think he became a cop? Do you think he had a change of heart? He did not have a change of heart. He was doing intel. He was doing intel, man.
DEA Special Agent Kyle Morey, who would later lead the American investigation from Los Angeles, understood exactly what that period meant. Mencho wasn't rehabilitating. He was studying, learning how law enforcement thought, how it moved, how it could be bought. Every shift was intelligence. He left the force, joined the Mencho Cartel as a sicario. When Sinaloa Capo Nacho Coronel was killed in 2010 and Mencho leader Oscar Valencia was arrested, the structure fractured. El Mencho didn't fracture with it. He declared war on Sinaloa and partnered with his wife's family, the Gonzalez Valencia money laundering network, and built something entirely new from the wreckage. He called it the Jalisco New Generation Cartel.
See, and this is where we're at right now. This is exactly the point where we're at right now. So he was a cop. He was studying like everything about them, their ways, what they do, Then he leaves. He joins a cartel. The leader of that cartel gets taken out. And whenever that happens, which just happened with him, it fractures the cartel. They can start splitting. Well, this guy wants to take charge. No, this guy wants to take charge. And then they start like fighting for control. What he did was, it sounds like he didn't stay and fight. He left and like formed his own cartel that they just said. So, and his wife had a money laundering family. That's interesting. So he had the setup.
CJNG, within a decade, it had presence in all 50 American states and more than 40 countries. By 2019, the DEA assessed El Mencho's cartel was moving at least 1/3 of all drugs entering the United States. His personal net worth, at minimum $500 million, potentially over $1 billion.
His cartel produces 1/3 of everything coming into this country. 1/3. And I do think Trump is having is it a State of the Union or something tonight? So I wonder if he's going to mention all of this. So I just really thought it's important to like learn this background first about him, and then we're going to look at just like cartels in general and how they affect everything. Yeah. Look at that. Oh my gosh. That's some money right there. $500 million to $1 billion this guy was worth.
The Mexican government estimated CJNG's total assets at $50 billion.
I know, Jesse Lynn.
In February 2025, the Trump administration designated it a foreign terrorist organization. The avocado picker from Michoacán had built a narco empire that outranked most countries' economies, and nobody could find him. El Chapo wanted to be a legend. He gave interviews to Sean Penn in the jungle. He had corridos written about him. He wore his name like a crown. El Mencho wanted to be invisible. No interviews, no photographs, no public appearances. In over a decade, as the most wanted man in the Western Hemisphere, fewer than 3 confirmed images of him exist. All of them old, all of them grainy. The only time the public ever heard his voice was through leaked audio recordings, expletive-filled messages sent to rivals, threats delivered from a face nobody could see. Organized crime expert Edgardo Buscaglia of Columbia University put it plainly. El Mencho's Jalisco New Generation Cartel was one of the biggest buyers of.
I'm not sure, but this looks like it would be Mexico City. I'm not sure about that, but I would love to go there. Mexico City is like, that's like the true, authentic, like not my experience. If you listen to my experience yesterday, not that. Not that. Look at that. Oof. Oh, play button. Sorry about that. And hi, Christy. I saw you in here. Hello, hello.
Politicians and political campaigns, which has given it an enormous social base. Power without visibility. That was the strategy. He moved constantly through the Sierras of Jalisco, Michoacán, Colima, and Nayarit, never sleeping in the same location for long. Around him, 2 rings of security, an inner circle of former military mercenaries, an outer ring of lookouts spread across the mountain roads, watching for anything that moved for years.
Isn't that crazy? It sounds like Osama bin Laden, for those of you guys that are, remember, like he would just hide around, hide out in secret, move around constantly. Yeah, that's what this guy's strategy was. That's crazy.
Years, it worked. Then came the violence that made hiding harder. May 2015, Mexican Army forces launched a military operation in Jalisco. El Mencho's men responded by firing a rocket-propelled grenade at an Army helicopter, blowing it out of the sky. He bought himself time to disappear into the Sierra. In a single.
How do you think his cartel got a rocket launcher? Like, that's why it's important to understand the connection with governments and how this is all working. It's almost like this circle of like, we're the government, we want to stop the cartels, but then we fund the cartels that we want to stop, but then it's like chicken, egg, cart, horse. I mean, it's crazy. Crazy. And the more I just feel like the more we understand it, then the better, decision making we can make about things with leaders and things like that.
Single 6-week stretch that same year, CJNG killed 24 police officers across western Mexico, not as a battle, as a message. 5 years later, he sent a bigger one. June 26, 2020, 7 a.m. Mexico City. On Reforma Avenue, one of the most famous boulevards in Latin America, a convoy of CJNG gunmen ambushed Mexico City Police Chief Omar Garcia Harfuch. Grenades, high-powered rifles. Harfuch took 3 bullets. 2 bodyguards and a civilian bystander were killed. He survived. From his hospital bed, still bloodied, Harfuch posted on Twitter and named CJNG directly. He recovered. He didn't forget. By 2026, Omar Garcia Harfuch was Mexico's Secretary of Security.
Okay, this is important because, so first of all, the cartel went after this guy, and I forget what they said he was, mayor or governor or something like that, but he survived and he didn't back down. So you can see how hard it would be to be a politician in Mexico standing up against, these cartels. So it sounds like this guy got promoted. Now he's part of the federal, government, and not backing down, still going after the cartel. But now we're going to get into more of that, like, how do they do that? Like, what happens when the government has to make a big decision, like kind of leave them alone and keep peace in the country because they're doing their thing and we're kind of ignoring it? Or, do we go after them, and how do you go after them? Because and this is the most important point out of this whole thing, just killing the cartel leader is not enough. It's not enough. And this is going to show, and my other video is going to show why.
The man El Mencho tried to kill was now the man coordinating the operation to kill him. When news broke that El Mencho was dead, Harfouk posted a single line on X: "Our recognition to the Mexican Army and Air Force." No speech, no triumph, just 4 words. 6 years of waiting compressed into one sentence. While El Mencho was making enemies, his body was betraying him. As early as 2019, Mexican intelligence had confirmed he was suffering from serious kidney failure. Kidney disease doesn't care how many soldiers you command. It demands treatment, dialysis, medication, constant monitoring. In the mountains, that's not easy to manage quietly.
Okay. So some of you had some good comments here. So I'm going to look at your comments. This right here with his medical condition. So he develops kidney disease, probably needs dialysis. Medications, all that. What he does for that is insane. That's insane. But this is going to be, I feel, one of the things that helps get him caught by him having this condition. It makes him more vulnerable. Someone made a point in here. I don't remember who it was. I can't find it, but I saw your comment about he's got all this money and like, what kind of life is that, just to be moving from tent to tent out in the wilderness, hiding? Like, I don't know. Who do you think's benefiting from that money? His wife, his kids, extended family. He's probably just taking care of them. It would be my guess. All right, so now we know he has this kidney disease.
Quietly, his solution was to build a private hospital deep inside CJNG controlled territory in the remote village of El Alcihuatl in the municipality.
All right, I got to look at this map for a minute because I'm looking at the part that I don't want to disclose, but I'm looking at the part where I spend time sometimes. And I'm thinking where I usually go, the Mexican government's in control. So that's good. There is a spot next to it that says controlled by cartels. So yikes. And then in dispute. Now, I don't know how old this map is, but that's interesting information.
Villa Purificacion, roughly 50 kilometers from the nearest town, he constructed a medical facility for his personal use. As recently as February 2025, Mexico's security secretary publicly confirmed the kidney disease was ongoing. Here is the question that investigators would have been asking. Kidney treatment creates a schedule. A schedule creates patterns. Patterns can be tracked. Whether that is how they ultimately found him has never been officially confirmed, but it is the thread that intelligence agencies were pulling. By 2022.
So that's interesting. He built himself his own hospital, you guys. So when I heard that, I was thinking, who's working at that hospital? What doctors are you getting? Are they cartel doctors and nurses and whatever else you need? I mean, he's contacting medical equipment salesmen. Hey, I need a infusion machine. And I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Insight Crime reported he hadn't been seen in years. Splinter factions were claiming he was already dead. The cartel was fracturing at the edges. And then, in the 15 months before his death, his family disappeared, one by one. November 2024, his son-in-law, El Gaucho, arrested.
Did you guys see? Here, let me show you. Do you see how they cover her eyes? So when I was down in Mexico, on the TVs down there, whenever they were reporting on arrests, this is how they show the people. They'll show the person and they always put that black line over their eyes. I thought that was interesting.
One by one. November 2024, his son-in-law, El Gaucho, arrested in Riverside, California. A man, El Mencho, had personally helped fake his own death to protect. February 27th, 2025, his brother Antonio, known as El Tony Montana, extradited to the United States. One day later, February 28th, his brother Abraham, Don Rodo, was recaptured by the Mexican army. The same Abraham he had gone to federal prison to protect in 1992. March 2025, his son, El Menchito, sentenced to life plus 30 years in U.S. federal court, ordered to forfeit over $6 billion.
So sounds like his family, his son was probably living in the United States. What do you think? Menchito is probably like little Mencho was his son's nickname. So before they go after El Mencho, they're going after his brothers. And so this is telling. One of his brothers gets extradited to the United States. His son is in the United States getting arrested. And then the other brother gets taken in by the Mexican government. So does that make you think that this was a dual initiative by the United States and Mexico together? I heard that the United States put pressure on Mexico's president to do this.
February 2025, his wife Rosalinda released from Mexican prison and immediately placed under surveillance every person who knew his location, every person who held his money, every person who could find him in the mountains, arrested, extradited, or watched. By February 2026, he was the last one standing, and he was sick, and he was alone.
Isn't that crazy, you guys? I've already listened to this once, and I still I can listen to things multiple times. It drives Carlos crazy because I miss things. They got everybody around him until he was like the last man standing. That is crazy. He must have been so sick because I mean, obviously he would know that all of that was going on. So he knew they were coming for him.
December 2024. The United States Department of State quietly raised the reward for information, leading to El Mencho's capture from $10 million to $15 million.
Yep, like Junior.
It was the largest narco bounty in active circulation. Somewhere in the mountains of Jalisco, the price on his head had just gone up 50%. Nobody came forward, not yet. January 2026. Washington announced the formal launch of the Joint Interagency Task Force Counter Cartel, a U.S. military-led intelligence unit with a single operational mandate: map cartel networks on both sides of the border and dismantle their leadership.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's interesting, especially when, always going back to the Idaho 4, these cartels, this is the leadership, but they have to branch out to the mules that are that's what they call them, the people that bring it over the border into the, lower level dealers, right? The dealers that we've talked a lot about in the Idaho 4 case around there. I know there's creators that have they found the routes that they use and where the hub cities are and things like that. William, are you talking about this case putting in a FOIA or something else? And hello, William, by the way. Cabo, I was looking at that. That comes down from California, right? That little, what do you call those? I can't remember the name of the landmass, but I was looking at that with what's going on with the fires and everything right now. And half of that little stretch is being attacked right now. And I think it was the northern part, like closer to California, and the southern part looked okay. That was interesting.
El Mencho sat at the very top of their target list. What was happening in the background was more significant than any press release. According to Reuters, the CIA had been conducting secret drone flights over Mexican territory, feeding real-time intelligence on cartel movements to Mexican forces. A former U.S. official told Reuters that the United States had compiled what intelligence agencies call a target package for El Mencho, a dossier combining law enforcement intelligence, signals intelligence, and human intelligence, and handed it directly to the Mexican government. This wasn't cooperation. This was a coordinated hunt. Mexico.
Wow. Boom. Right there. So it sounds like the United States did a lot of the intelligence and then said, here you go, Mexico, go get him. Yes, Kane. Correcting the teacher. Thank you. I could not think of it. It's a peninsula. Just like Florida. Just like Florida. I think all 5 of the cartels are now fighting simultaneously. Yes. And this is what happens when you kill the leader. Yep. I'm not sure how many there are, and more will pop up, right? Like just like El Mencho here, he was part of the Sinaloa cartel, and then he branched off and started his own. So the one he started didn't exist before. So new ones can be created all the time. I sound like I'm the cartel expert. Oh, that's funny.
Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum was caught in a bind she couldn't escape.
Okay, this is interesting. Look at her. This is Claudia Sheinbaum. Does Sheinbaum sound like a Mexican Hispanic last name? When I was down there, I was questioning the people down there about her. And I asked them that very exact thing. And they said, no, she's not from Mexico. They don't think she was born in Mexico. And I believe she is Jewish, I think. She's from the Middle East. So when they said Middle East, I assumed probably Israel. I'm not sure. But her background is interesting. How do you become the president of Mexico with that background? Isn't that interesting, you guys? Very interesting. Especially if there, and I don't know if there is, but if there is an Israel connection, like that's a hot topic that a lot of people talk about, right? So she understands this area though. So like I said, maybe she was, I don't know where she was born or anything like that, but she knows you can't just kill the cartel leader. And so the United States is going to put pressure on her like, hey, here's the information, go do it. And she's like, man, this is not going to go well. I know that this isn't the way to do it.
Throughout her political career, she had publicly criticized the kingpin strategy, the doctrine of targeting and eliminating cartel bosses. Her argument was straightforward and backed by history. Decapitation doesn't kill a cartel, it fractures it. And a fractured cartel produces more violence, not less. She had said this publicly, repeatedly, but the Trump administration was applying pressure that Mexico could not easily absorb. Tariff threats, military posturing, diplomatic ultimatums. El Mencho had become political currency, the trophy that would prove Mexico was serious about its side of the border. The trap was set, and the operation moved forward. Now, Tapalpa. If you look at Tapalpa on a map, it reads like a postcard. A small colonial mountain town 2 hours southwest of Guadalajara. White stone churches, pine forests, cobblestone streets, a weekend escape for wealthy tapatillos, the kind of place tourists photograph and cartels launder money through quietly. That last part is documented. In September 2015, nearly a decade before the operation, the U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control sanctioned specific CJNG businesses operating in Tapalpa. Among them, a rental cabin operation identified as a front for cartel money. El Mencho's organization had roots in that town for 10 years. He wasn't hiding there randomly. He was hiding there because he had always been there.
Okay, so that's interesting. And I'm telling you, these cartels, like they get their hands in everything, even like these you could be on vacation and like wherever you're staying, you're giving your money to the cartels and you don't even know it. Like, oh my goodness, crazy. J. Cameron, 2937. Did I say hello? Beach Babe, did I say hello to you? Probably a long time ago. I hope.
By the evening of February 21st, 2026, Mexican Army Special Forces had confirmed intelligence placing El Mencho in the Tapalpa area. The operation was authorized at the highest levels of both governments. Soldiers were moving into position before midnight. Here is what we don't know and what may never be confirmed. We don't know how they found him. Was it a human informant, someone who decided $15 million was worth more than loyalty to a dying boss? Was it signals intelligence, a phone, a radio, a pattern of communications that broke his cover? Was it the medical treatment? Dialysis doesn't happen in the dark. Equipment moves, people talk. Was it someone from his inner circle, someone arrested, someone pressured, someone who chose survival over silence? The Mexican Ministry of Defense has not said. The CIA has not said. Nobody has said. What we know is this: the objective on the record from the official statement of Mexico's Ministry of Defense was to capture him alive. They planned to take him breathing. That is not what happened.
I don't know about Maduro.
Sunday, February 22nd, 2026, before sunrise, Tapalpa, Jalisco, Mexican Army Special Forces moved in from multiple positions simultaneously. National Guard units held the perimeter. Mexican Air Force assets were overhead. Intelligence personnel from the Attorney General's office were embedded in the operation. This was not a raid improvised in the field. This was months of preparation converging on a single point in the dark. The moment troops breached the compound, CJNG fighters opened fire. What followed was a sustained firefight in the Sierra. 4 CJNG operatives were killed at the scene. 2 were arrested. 3 others were gravely wounded. Among them, the man the operation had been built to find. When the shooting stopped, soldiers moved through the compound. Armored vehicles, rocket launchers capable of bringing down aircraft, heavy arms stockpiled in the mountains like a small army's arsenal. And in the wreckage of the firefight, wounded and in custody, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, El Mencho, finally in the hands of the Mexican state. 3 members of the Mexican armed forces were wounded in the exchange. Standard protocol for a capture of this magnitude meant one thing: transfer immediately to Mexico City. A military aircraft was prepared. El Mencho, wounded, bleeding, was loaded aboard. The plan was federal custody, interrogation, the full weight of the Mexican justice system. He never arrived. Somewhere above the mountains of Jalisco, en route to the capital, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes died from his wounds. The man who had spent over a decade evading every government on earth died in the air in the custody of the army he had spent years humiliating. The man who shot down a military helicopter with a rocket-propelled grenade to escape the Mexican army in 2015 was transported by the Mexican army's own aircraft. He didn't make it off the plane. In Mexico City, Omar Garcia.
Now, I know this guy's just telling the story of what happened. So, you know, when he says like, he never made it, he never got off the plane, like those could just be exaggerated statements. But I'm like, well, then where did he go? Where'd they take him? You know, they were taking him to like a military hospital. He's under military custody. If he doesn't make it, you know, wonder where they took his body. And I don't know, interrogating him. I mean, you already got everybody around him. You've got his brothers, you've got his next in command, you've got everybody on down the line. I'm sure somebody, I wonder if somebody spilled the tea on where he was or if it was that hospital. Those are my two theories of how they got him. Hi, Leslie and Billy. Hello. Good. I'm glad you guys are enjoying this like me, man. I thought this was fascinating. Hi, Smiling Sleuth. Yep, this part's almost I'm probably going to end around the part where the guy that got shot by him that ends up being upper level political that goes after him. He puts out a tweet that I loved.
Harfoot, the man CJNG had shot 3 times on Reformer Avenue in 2020, opened his phone and posted 4 words on X. Our recognition to the Mexican Army and Air Force. No speech, no press conference, no photograph. Just 4 words from the man who had waited 6 years for this day.
So this guy almost got killed by El Chapo, survived, and ended up being one of the people that helped capture him. And his response was just our recognition to the National Army, or however he worded it. That's it. That's all he said.
Then Mexico started burning. Within hours, CJNG unleashed coordinated violence across 6 states. 21 highway blockades ignited across Jalisco alone by 3 in the afternoon. Vehicles set ablaze across Jalisco, Michoacán, Colima, Tamaulipas, Guanajuato, and Aguascalientes. Governor Pablo Lemus Navarro activated a code red state of emergency. Public transport suspended, schools canceled, civilians ordered to stay home. Guadalajara went silent. A city of 5 million people scheduled to host FIFA World Cup matches in June 2026 became a ghost town in an afternoon.
Okay, that's going to be very interesting. When I was down there in Mexico, because they're gonna, soccer's the thing down there, right? Soccer is the thing. And they're going to host, like, I don't know, the Super Bowl of soccer, or the Olympics of soccer is going to be in Mexico. And I don't know if they're hosting different things in different cities, because I was in a different city and they were building a monorail train to transport all the people they're expecting to come into Mexico for this soccer, FIFA tournament. Like, it's huge. Yeah, kind of like the World Cup, I guess, like all those analogies. What's going to happen now? I mean, we're in end of February, and that's supposed to happen in June. They don't even have that monorail built yet. I'm like, oh my gosh. But I don't know how this is gonna affect all that. So we're gonna end with this part right there. So he's killed. They cut off the head of the cartel, a main cartel, not the only one, but the main one. And like their president Scheinbaum warned, you can't just do that. But maybe by them going in and getting everybody first, they went in and got his brothers, they went in and got the next of command, anybody who was close to him, they already took out. So maybe they did use this new approach, because now everybody that's fighting in the streets are either super low level, like recruits or members of his cartel, or other cartels that are now going to start fighting amongst. They're going to fight over power. They're going to fight to see who gets to take over. It's crazy. Mencho man. Okay, so that's his story. And then let me take a time out and see what's going on over here in chat. Was it on her orders or the regional government? Oh, this was a national thing. This was the Mexican government. Yesterday, when I was talking about Mexico and I was talking about the federales, the national federales trucks that I kept seeing, I'm now more convinced that that's the Mexican government, and yeah, I feel safe with them around where I was. The bloody soccer ball. Oh no. Okay. So I have a short video. It's like 13 minutes long, that explains the implications now. The implications of
First tonight, a happy ending for one Avondale family as an Amber Alert helped
get to this. And like the global effect of all of this. Like it's a lot that I didn't really like understand. Here we go. Yeah, it's only 30.
What happened over the weekend in Mexico? Why does it matter, or why should it matter?
Well, the Mexican army conducted the killing of a major drug trafficking capo in Mexico. Mr. Oseguera, El Mencho, was the leader of the most powerful cartel in Mexico. This was a cartel with presence in about 17 states in Mexico, and reputedly as many as 40 countries around the world. It was a major drug trafficking cartel. It was engaged also in human trafficking. It was engaged in human smuggling. It was engaged in real estate fraud. It was engaged in extracting resources and extortion from businesses, small and large, in Mexico. It was engaged in all kinds of criminal activities in Mexico. And the very important thing that we have to consider.
I don't know. If just right there. So a couple things about what he's just saying. The cartels are not just involved in drugs. They're doing human smuggling and sex trafficking. And I just keep thinking, okay, if they're kidnapping these people for that, who are they giving them to? It's for a price, right? So it's wealthy people. And then circling back to what's going on right now in our world around that, again, this is another one of those circles of who's the consumer. You know, the consumers are some of the people who are trying to fight against the cartels, but then the cartels are giving the consumers, it's like they're participating in it. Like the whole thing is just it's just corrupt, right? Yeah. Where are these people going? Who's paying for these sex trafficking victims, right? And that's all starting to come out. Just saying.
Is that they were also engaged in political campaigns and co-opting candidates, and sometimes in some municipalities, even picking the candidates. This was a very important step by the president of Mexico, because many of the members of her political coalition were engaged in criminal activities or facilitating minimally criminal activity. And so this was a really important step. I think it was something that the U.S. wanted her to do. She had resisted, but she finally did it. And so I think it's important to think that this was a major coup by both the U.S. and the Mexican government to finally get this guy.
What could be the ripple effects here that people in Houston or in the U.S. would know?
Okay, I like this because he's just asking specific questions. But Meg, that is interesting. I have never heard of that. I'm going to have to look that up. A former Olympian who was arrested for being a large kingpin. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. This guy was just saying that this is almost like a coup. Usually a coup is against the government, but this is like in reverse. It's like the United States government and the Mexican government doing a coup, like a takeover on the cartels. And in my opinion, based on like what this guy's going to say and everything I've heard, that's the only way. You got to they have to completely clean house of all of them. And then help your society, because there's a big issue down there. All right. Sorry. This question is, what could the ripple effects be in Houston? What's going to happen in Houston?
From this.
Well, the very first thing is obviously fentanyl, the availability and the price of the fentanyl in the streets. We've already seen a decline in the amount of fentanyl that circulates in the streets in the United States. You may remember that at the peak, there were about 108,000 deaths by overdoses in the United States. That's come down considerably, I think about 50%. As fentanyl becomes more scarce in the streets in the United States, the gangs that distribute that in the streets, the bars, the clubs, the parties, the apartment buildings in the United States may begin to compete for the available fentanyl. And we may see some violence in the streets, very specific spots, hot spots throughout the United States. But I think that would be the most important effect. The other one, of course, is that the U.S. finally convinced Mexico to confront this problem. This was a huge problem with ripple effects into the United States, and it's a good thing that President Trump finally managed to get President Sheinbaum to act against the cartels, because they have an effect in the United States.
So we know that here the governor has asked DPS to be on heightened alert and increase some certain measures because of this. Is that necessary?
I'm going to skip through some of this. That's a good question. This guy's even going to say that, look, the cartels, like, they've gotten their hands on one aspect. They are kind of like a military because they've been able to be funded. You know, who's giving them military tanks? Who's giving them rocket launchers? You know, they're getting that from some governments somehow. So on that aspect, they seem very well equipped. But then on the other hand, they're not trained. They are unstable. There's a lot of backstabbing that happens. It's just like all based on trust and stuff like that. So they're not well organized. So I think that there's enough military between Mexico, and this is my personal opinion, I think between Mexico and the United States to like protect the states.
I mean, obviously, anytime that there is violence in Mexico, there's always been fear of spillover violence into Texas, into the United States. We've never seen that. There's been very violent periods in Mexico when the Juarez cartel was falling apart, when the Sinaloa cartel was falling apart. There was a lot of violence in Mexico, and we never really saw the spillover. It's important to be on the alert. You never know what can happen, but the likelihood that the violence will actually spill over into Texas is really very, very small. Mexico is a very violent country, and we haven't seen those levels of violence in the United States. In fact, the violence and the crime in the United States have been dropping, even as it has grown in Mexico. But it doesn't hurt to be on the alert, of course.
People I've seen posting saying, oh, it's starting to already look and maybe feel a little more normal again. Is that going to last, or should people with travel plans reconsider?
Well, that's two questions, right? The first is whether this is going to last. To me, the experience, those of us who have looked at this issue for a long time, we understand that this kind of highly valued target strategy, the drug kingpin strategy, going after these guys, the capos, the guys at the top, is a very questionable strategy, because nothing in the end changes in Mexico. El Chapo was extradited. Amayo Zambada was absconded from Sinaloa, ended up in the United States. Other couples have been killed, and the business continues. So this is kind of a questionable strategy in many ways. And what does happen is that then many of the lieutenants begin to fight for control of the cartel, and then they create these factions. So they behave like guerrillas on Mexican territory. They begin to sort of try to take over the organization, and then there's a lot of violence. Or sometimes other criminal organizations try to move into the territory controlled by that particular cartel, that particular capo that was taken out, and obviously that means also more violence. So it's never really changed. It's always been like that. That pattern seems to prevail.
So, yeah, I mean, if they want, you can't, what's that thing? You can't do the definition of stupidity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Like, they can't keep doing the same thing. Like if they only kill El Mencho and take out his leadership and ignore and let be all the other cartels that are currently in the streets setting everything on fire and freaking out, nothing's going to change. It's just going to start up all over again. So I hope there's a further plan for this. I mean, one thing is the cartels are kind of outing themselves right now, right? By being public in the streets and doing these things. So if the government, when I say the government thought this out further than what they normally do, there should be a plan for like going in and rounding everybody up. And but I'm telling you, this exists because of their social structure also in their country. You know, you have to take care of your citizens. They're starving. They're poor. It's harsh conditions. You have to change that, or this is what people are going to resort to. Sorry, that's my little 2 cents.
So I think we should expect that. I mean, if there isn't a single guy that emerges as the leader of the cartel, the undisputed leader of the cartel, then more violence is likely to ensue. The second question is really interesting, right? What should Americans do? We know that 1.2 to 1.5 million Americans live in Mexico.
Yep, Jesse.
More than in the entire European Union combined. So Mexico is a major destination for expats, and also tens of millions of Americans travel to Mexico every year. They go to the beaches and the resorts and other places. And spring break is coming up in 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah,
we're
that's
going to be
crazy.
in spring break, and a lot of spring breakers go to Mexico, right? At this point, I would reconsider my travel plans. I'd be very careful. If you have to go, obviously you have to go. Exercise maximum caution. Be sure to know where you're going. Get some help to make sure that you're guided to the right places. Keep the phone number of the embassy and the consulate at hand in case something happens. But if you don't have to go, honestly, I would reconsider.
Don't go to the consulate like I had to. Don't have to go to that American consulate. Yeah, you guys, spring break's coming. Like, how do you think Cancun is far removed from what's going on here. Cancun's probably a place that like the cartel like owns or gets money from the hotels and stuff. So they're probably going to leave that alone because it funds them, is my opinion. But yeah, still you have to be cautious when things get better. Yeah. Their resorts are, I mean, the people are so friendly down there, like at the resorts and everything, but you always, it's a low socioeconomic, country with, average citizens down there. And you just always have to be aware and be on guard for things.
Consider plans for spring break.
For spring break, for sure. So, I mean, for how long?
All right. So I think that was how long should travel be? He doesn't know. What is this? Oh, what is Mencho's cartel presence in Houston? What's it like in Houston?
What should people know about that?
Well, I think one of the things that we ignore in the United States is the fact that fentanyl, for example, which is something that is trafficked into the United States quite a bit now, but it used to be the same thing with cocaine and heroin and marijuana before that. They're pyramids. You have to think of them as pyramids. On the one hand, you got the capo and the lieutenants, and you got the different branches in Mexico. They are importing the precursor chemicals. They're doing the pills. They're running the labs. They're storing the drugs in Mexico, and then they're moving them to the border, and then they cross them at the U.S.-Mexico border, and then they end up in Chicago or Dallas or Houston or any other city in warehouses and safe houses and places like that. And then it moves on to
Washington
U.S.
and
citizen
Idaho.
hands. Those are the people that buy it in bulk, a kilogram or two. I would say kind of the almost the retail level, but not quite, sort of in the middle. And then these are the guys that do the specific dosages that you find in apartment buildings and parks and other places where drugs are sold. And so there's a lot of participation. If there is a...
All right. I thought he was going to talk about like specific stuff. Let me see what the next question is. How did the U.S.
I think the president of Mexico.
All right. So how exactly did the U.S. influence the operation?
And we have to be careful with that. I think the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, has been under enormous pressure by the Trump administration to move against the cartels. She didn't want to. I think it was against her political instincts. But at the end of the day, I think Trump offered both carrots and sticks. I would say the sticks is essentially the threat of ending the USMCA.
Is it illegal there, Caius? I thought it was legal. Isn't marijuana legal? Especially in California, right? Maybe it's like the amounts or something. Like I know some states will legalize it and then the state takes over and they have to control it because they want the money. Like they don't want, God forbid citizens make money off of that.
Or even conducting operations without Mexico's knowledge or consent. In other words, not necessarily boots on the ground, but you got drones, you can identify the targets. So the U.S. could potentially do these sort of remote operations within Mexico. That's the stick, that's the threat. I think the carrot is, look, the USMCA is currently under renegotiation. Renegotiations between the United States and Mexico began on January 28th, just about a month ago. And so far, Mexico has not been that affected by tariffs on trade. Anything within the USMCA that qualifies to enter the United States is entering the US with 0% tariffs. The US could impose tariffs on Mexico. It could decide not to renew the USMCA. And so I think Sheinbaum understood very clearly that the renegotiations give the US a lot of leverage to force Mexico into acting against the cartel.
All right. So there it is. There's the leverage. So the politics come into play with like, hey, we'll put tariffs on you, or there's some probably a trade agreement or something that is up for renewal or whatever they're saying. These are just my layman, how I'm kind of understanding it. So it was that pressure. Reading your comment, John.
Cartels and
what's this?
Cartel leaders being targeted.
All right, I think I'm going to stop with that. I hope that you found that entertaining and informative. It was very informative for me to understand what's going on. So if we want to clean up that stuff in our countries, like this goes deep. This goes very deep, right? So I like having that understanding. They call us gringos because the people used to yell at the soldiers in our green uniforms. Oh, Kane. I think Carlos and I, when we were down in Mexico, we described ourselves by that word, and the locals were like, I don't think they use that word a lot. Not a nice word. Not a good word. That's funny. Okay, so leaving Mexico and coming on back to Tucson, Arizona with Nancy Guthrie. What is going on with trying to find Nancy? So hopefully, let me take this down for a second. Hopefully you have seen that the released video footage and the photos that were put out by the police, was it the FBI that put them out, from the porch of her house where the guy is in front of the Nest doorbell camera. They are now saying are from 2 different nights. And I was blown away when I heard that, because there's somebody on TikTok that I've seen a couple of their videos, and One of them, I was like, no, that's odd. And I talked about that yesterday about the evidence submission site that they have established for Nancy Guthrie. And when I went to that site, there was a form already there saying that she was reported missing at 7 p.m. on Saturday night. And I'm like, that seems fake. That seems weird. I don't understand what's going on. That same person that I learned about that form from put out a video. This was before this came out. This was before yesterday that I saw this. I think I saw this guy talk about it maybe Friday. Wait, what day is today? Wait, today's Tuesday, when it's Sunday. I probably saw this on Sunday. And he was talking about the two photos. In fact, I think I brought it up to Dago. I don't know if it was on my show or his show. And I was telling him, hey, I saw this TikToker make this video, and he was looking at the night sky in both of those images and saying that it looked like the one was very, very light, and that there was I'm pretty sure he said like a snow moon one of the nights around that time, because, and then ever since I saw that video, like I kind of gave it like, no, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. And then today, Tuesday, or no, it was yesterday, Monday, it breaks that the law enforcement has said, yes, those are from two different nights. And I thought, that's weird. Like or that person was right. You know, sometimes we're right when we make these observations, right? Goodwill Hunting. Brian, I can't believe Brian, Enton, Mo, and JLR are going through all these tunnels. Law enforcement even bothered. They found a backpack. Yeah, I know. JLR was talking about speculating about the guy on the porch, the people who would have broke in, how they broke in, and the idea that what if they used walkie-talkies? Oh, because apparently, I guess, if you look at one of the photos, someone said it looks there looks like there's some kind of device in the pocket. And so they were speculating, is it a walkie-talkie? Is that how they communicated with each other? One's out front, one's out back, one's at the car. Like, however, a smart criminal wouldn't bring their phone, so you're not going to communicate by phone. So I thought that was an interesting theory about that. I had a couple short clips of some information. A lot of people are going back and talking about like kind of going back to the beginning again. Talking about the sister, talking about Tommaso.
Who reported
Sorry, I
that,
didn't add it.
quote, we can now confirm through an inside source. The latest last night is something that we have news on. There's a local reporter who works for Arizona Family named Brianna Whitney, who reported that, quote, we can now confirm through an inside source. That's all she says, inside source. Investigators believe Nancy Guthrie abduction was intended burglary, and DNA evidence is currently being tested from the Range Rover that was seen being towed away on Friday. The Range Rover being towed away on Friday is a reference to that Friday night raid. This happened late into the evening Friday, where the feds executed a search warrant on a home with a female and a male, believed to be mother, son, and then also stopped a Range Rover, a dark gray Range Rover, described by some as silver, though, which we believe he was also connected to the people who were inside that house. It's unconfirmed. That's our understanding, though. And it seems that they may have had a lead directing them to one member of this family, and then covered the field with a search warrant on somebody driving the car, and then a mother, son, we believe again, pair inside the home, and they searched the home. No arrests were made. And that's still being investigated, but doesn't look like, at least on first glance, they found their man, and they don't think they found their man. But what she's reporting, this Brianna Whitney, is that DNA evidence is currently being tested from that Range Rover that was seen being towed away on Friday. Okay, so that's still an open question. But the part about we can now confirm through an inside source that investigators believe the Guthrie abduction was an intended burglary. To say it's gotten pushback would be to undermine what's actually happened now. Both Michael Ruiz of Fox News Digital and Matt Finn of Fox News and my own sourcing has all said that's not the case. Here's Michael Ruiz.
Okay, so I know this is an older video, but I thought when she was talking about, I should have wrote it down because now I'm, oh, I know. Going back to, we know so much more information now. So we know, and hi, Dago, I saw you in there. Welcome. When she's talking about, Luke Daly, he was the one driving the Range Rover. So I was just thinking, what are the facts that we know? Okay, let's look at what they have for evidence. Okay, they have taken in a Range Rover from Lucas Daly. He's the guy that got pulled over at the Culver's, whatever it's called. Okay, as far as I know, they still have that Range Rover and they're processing it. We haven't heard anything about any DNA or anything from that. And they've had that for what? A couple weeks now, at least. All right. So a lot of people are questioning, because like even Megyn Kelly said here, well, they must have got a tip. So we don't even know what is leading them or what led them a couple weeks ago to detain the people that they detained. And then what are these warrants going to look like? Can you just use a random tip that's not verified? Like, hey, I mean, I guess there would have to be some kind of information to make them, pull this guy over, go to the house of the mother and the son and detain them, ask them questions. They went back later and they took, I believe, a blue Charger. Is that what kind of car it was? So they took another blue car from that home, that same home. So now they have two vehicles from that search warrant that they've been processing. We've heard nothing. So just like pointing out evidence that they should have, that they have a lot. They have a lot, and it's turning up. It looks like it's turning up nothing. I heard the latest today is that, and I know I said I wanted to talk about DNA today, but I really I couldn't find anything yet to really talk about the DNA mixture. So they're saying that there's the evidence, the DNA evidence from inside the house is mixed. Okay. And that doesn't make it impossible, but I guess it's it's challenging. They're having a hard time separating they can't get a profile from it. That's the latest. No profile has been able to be made as of today. Like they're just having a hard time. So we don't know what kind of DNA it is. Was it just invisible touch DNA because of a scuffle or something like that? Brian Etten says it's junk, what the DNA that they have. I mean, obviously it's not turning up anything. I think it's really weird that we heard this whole like, oh, we have to get the DNA back from Florida and have Arizona work on it. And then everything I keep hearing about the DNA being done is from Florida. Like, is it still in Florida? Did they never take it to Arizona? I don't know. It's the information coming out is only secret sources that these news media have. And just trust us. Just trust us. Okay. And then let me see. There's another one.
Now he's saying to Local 13 News that the family's been 100% cooperative. He said that before. And that family members were ruled out as suspects in the first few days. Now, if he means Savannah, I can accept that. I believe she was in New York at the time her mother went missing. But if he's referring to Annie and Tomas, it's a lie. That's a lie. And we know it's a lie because we need only to look back at the sheriff's own statements. Here he is in a montage dating back since the beginning of this case in SOP 50.
Nobody's eliminated, but we just really don't have enough to say, this is our suspect, this is our guy, we know, or our gal. We just don't know that.
Okay, so he just said, and this is another issue with this case, is when the sheriff does speak or puts out tweets or gives an interview to individual reporters or, any other statement like that. There have been many statements put out and then circled back on, like contradicted later. So I think that's what the sheriff strikes again. I liked this montage because she's showing all of that.
Are you actively investigating the son-in-law in this case? You said you haven't eliminated everybody. Have you eliminated him or come close to it?
We're actively looking at everybody we come across in this case. Everybody. It's so cliche.
What, Sheriff?
But everybody's still a suspect in our eyes. That's just how we look at things and think as cops. Does that mean we have a prime suspect? No. And the family's been very cooperative.
So now he just said everybody's a suspect. Everybody's a suspect, but we don't have a name.
They've done everything we've asked of them, and we want that relationship to continue. And sometimes people can be mean out there, and that can really harm us and harm our efforts.
Weird, Maureen. That doesn't sound the same to me as all of the family members have been ruled out as suspects from day one.
No, it doesn't. And he acts as if we're all being unreasonable for even questioning whether or not Nancy or Annie and her husband are involved, when, as I've said numerous times, and all of us on this panel here, we've done a number of rollback warrants to different locations, but I've never done 6 on one location.
So I was surprised by this, and I got to look at the date. I don't know when this was actually put out, but at this point, it's just about the message. So I love Maureen McConnell here, former FBI agent. She's very professional, in my opinion, very well spoken. And she's been pretty restrained on criticism in this case. I think she did make a couple snarky remarks. One time the sheriff came out and said something, and she said, well, at least he's being direct. That's the first direct thing I've ever heard him say. But even that direct information ended up getting contradicted. They come back and change it. But I love her point here that it seems like, coming from the sheriff's office, that they are like, leave Annie and Tommaso alone. Family's cleared. But then if you hear what they're saying and contrast that to look at what they're doing, that seems like two different things. What they're saying is family's cleared. What they did was go back to Annie and Tommaso's house 6 different times. And that's her point right here, former FBI agents. Like, yeah, sometimes you need to circle back and go back in and finish, do some things that maybe need a second look or something like that. But 6 times. And they weren't just going there to collect the mail. They were going in with gloved up, evidence type items. And I think that's very telling. Plus, he's the last person to see that. So I've kind of set him aside because, you got to wait for something to come out to connect him. But I haven't eliminated him.
I mean, we're the ones following the facts. When law enforcement shows up at a house over and over and over and seizes a vehicle.
Okay, so there's another one. There's another vehicle, you guys. Let's keep track of the vehicles. So they have Annie. I don't know, like a lot of married couples have their own vehicles. Whose vehicle did they take? Do they only have one vehicle? Does anybody in chat know the answer? I mean, I need to do some research on this. Do they each have a vehicle? Whose vehicle did they take? They've had that one since like day what? They've had that vehicle since the beginning. I'm sure it's been processed by now. If Nancy's DNA is in there, she's in their cars all the time probably. So wait a minute, what am I seeing? Seeing if I missed something in chat. Did I miss something, Dago? Oh, Dago, you got the wrench. You can handle stuff if I'm taking that the wrong way. I can't even see what that is. All right, now I lost my train of thought. So the vehicle, they've had it for a long time. Nancy's DNA being in there isn't going to tell them anything because her DNA probably should be in there. It would only be if there was blood or something suspicious. So I'm not sure. Yeah, same thing. Hey, Twiz. Talking about the guy. I'm so lost, you guys. I'm so lost with, there. Lost with that conversation, but that's okay. Hey, Twiz. All right, where's this? Let me finish this.
And then the one, her husband, Tommaso's been completely out of pocket. No one has seen him since that day he did like that, the gangster lean in his car trying to get away from the press.
Did anybody see that footage? I have never seen that footage. Apparently there's footage with Tommaso leaving in a car with a gangster lean. I know what they're talking about. How many of you guys drive like that? Yeah, I haven't seen that. There's Tommaso footage driving away and nobody has seen him since. Now, I mean, I haven't seen Annie either. I'm sure all the they're somewhere, grieving or whatever.
We're not the ones being unreasonable here.
Well, here's what's crazy, Maureen. Now he's saying to Local 13 News that the family's been 100% cooperative.
Okay. All right. I thought those were good talking points. Carlos now has legal representation. His lawyer did an interview with Brian Enton. Yes, he does have. So Carlos is the guy that was detained in Rio Rico. He is the delivery driver. I'm assuming they must have got a warrant for him because of a ping or a delivery. I've heard some legal experts say that it should not be enough. Just making a delivery to a home of a victim should not be enough to get a search warrant. So I don't know, but here's the kicker. His search warrants were sealed. I think they're all sealed, even the dailies. I'm pretty sure. So wouldn't you think your attorney would be able to see your search warrant that you had? I don't think his attorney has been able to get his hands on the search warrant. So some more, the only word I can think of is a bad word, so I'm not going to say. Some more shenanigans. I'll say shenanigans going on by the police. It's not funny. It's serious. And I'm glad, Carlos has that attorney because of Truth and Transparency, you guys. So I know if you have not heard of that channel or not following her, run over there to Truth and Transparency and follow that channel because she does things like this. She found the attorney and put funding towards it and stuff like that. Meg, did I say hello to you? I saw your comments and I was interacting with you. All right, I'm going to end with a couple questions about the Nancy Guthrie case. And this is probably the third time in a row that I'm like, I'm going to watch the sheriff's press conferences. And I push it off. And then I get to the end and I'm petering out. And I put it off. So I think I'll do one for tomorrow, but I'll talk about that towards the end. Okay. I know some other creators probably shared this video. I don't ever share her a lot. I watch her once in a while, but this is an attorney and she had some good questions. All right, where's my playlist? I'm doing this again. Where's my playlist? That I want to discuss. I don't think this is my playlist. Okay, 1 second. While we're on this short pause, please take a second to hit that like button if you wouldn't mind. That would help me out. We are at the last few minutes. Well, probably 10 minutes of the show. I'm going to end with some questions to discuss. There it is. Okay. So yes, this is Lawyer Lee. Yes, I know some other people have used this video, but it is a good one. And I'm not going to show the whole thing. Using it for a talking point. If you do go back and watch the whole video, she has 6 key points that she talks about. They're all really, really, really good.
Man at the front door, but
okay, it is showing. There we go.
They might be about the same size or home. They may have been looking at digital evidence from the family computers.
She has some good she has good insight as an attorney.
4-year-old Nancy Guthrie spent the evening with her daughter Annie and her son-in-law Tommaso Cioni. And around 9:48 p.m., Cioni drops Nancy Guthrie back off at her house. At 9:50, her garage door closes. So the fact that they're looking at the Cioni home means they must have thought there was some reason to do that. Did they think Nancy had been brought back there? Was there some reason to think she hadn't even gotten home that night, even though that appears to be what happened? Agents were actually seen carrying a silver briefcase into the home. They may have been looking at digital evidence from the family computers. So all told, there has been a lot of speculation.
Okay. Great questions. If Nancy's abducted from her house and taken away, not to be seen again, what are they doing in Annie and Tommaso's house? What are they doing in there? What do you guys think in the chat? What are they doing in Annie and Tommaso's house six different times? 6 different times. Were they looking to see if Nancy was brought back there? Were they collecting digital evidence? Checking computers and phones? Okay, so that's one of the, major questions that we don't know yet.
Around Sione, even about his appearance. He has a mustache. So does the man at the front door. Although his is a little more salt and pepper than what you see in the man at the front door, but they might be about the same size. There's actually been a lot of debate about that, whether he's actually bigger or the same size.
I personally don't think that Tommaso looks, the facial features, I don't think what you can tell through the mask, I don't think he matches. What do you guys think? Also, I have to tell you, as a teacher, as a former teacher, JLR had a clip where he was speaking to a lady who lived in the area, and that lady was on the phone with someone who worked at the school where Tommaso worked. So Tommaso was a science teacher, I believe, is a science teacher, I believe. And that person that works with him, no, it was a parent. It wasn't someone who worked with him. It was a parent of kids who go to that school. The parent community seems to really love him. So I know that's kind of like a take it for what it's worth kind of a thing, but I don't know. To me, that was kind of telling, because I think kids will rat on you in a second. Kids say the craziest things, right? So, kind of made it seem like he's probably a good guy.
Says the man seen in the door cam video. The man in the video also seems to have kind of a softened chin, like maybe having a beard. Sione has a beard. There was a lot of confusion when over the weekend the sheriff said, well, everyone's a suspect. And then on February 16th, put out this post on X. To be clear, the Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects in this case. The family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious and are victims in this case. To suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it's cruel. The Guthrie family are victims, plain and simple. Please, I'm begging you, the media, to honor your profession and report with some sense of compassion and professionalism.
Okay. So, taking that for what it's worth, like that's probably the most direct thing that has come out from law enforcement is leave the family alone. They're victims. Sluther 75, I see your comment there. Like, yes, it seems like the conversation seems to be circling back. The online discussion and evidence that we see seems to go away from the family. That doesn't turn anything up. Then we go back to the family. Then we go away from the family and then back to the family, because nothing's panning out in this case, it seems like. So the only, and I don't know if you were in here, but the clip I played a little bit ago that raises questions about Annie and Tommaso for me is the amount of times that they went back into their house and took their vehicle and all that kind of stuff. So that's it. Just pointing those kinds of things out. And so is Lawyer Lee here. She's just, asking questions.
Why would the sheriff's office investigate Sione so much if it appears he didn't do it? I think there are actual legal explanations for that. In a 1995 case called Kyles v. Whitley, the U.S. Supreme Court said a defendant.
You guys, I did listen to this part earlier. This is the part. Okay, Twiz, you're going to want to hear this. I think, maybe, I don't know. I used to have a segment where I did, is this a nugget or nah? Let me play that. Oh my God. I think I only used it once. Okay. All right. She's going to talk about the legal aspect of something that for like an appeals process later down the road, something like that. But she cites a court case. And I'm like, did they talk about this court case in the Kohberger case? Can this, does this go with what happened to Brian Kohberger? So let me know what you think. Let me back it up 1 second. There we go.
Court said a defendant is entitled to present evidence that the police investigation was incomplete or flawed. So let's say
Okay, wait a minute. I did not back it up enough. Oop.
Explanations for that. In a 1995 case called Kyles v. Whitley, the U.S. Supreme Court said a defendant is entitled to present evidence that the police investigation was incomplete or flawed. So let's say
a defendant is entitled to present evidence that they deem that was flawed or incomplete. What? A defendant is entitled to present evidence that was either flawed or was deemed flawed. So it doesn't mean it is flawed. It was deemed flawed. DNA in the Kohberger case. It was deemed flawed or incomplete. Incomplete. DNA testing. I'm being DNA testing. Wouldn't that just corrupt the jury? I mean, I'm thinking about the Brian Kohberger case. So there's untested DNA in the Brian Kohberger case. So if a defendant is entitled to present that in a court, I know they didn't go to court. But I'm saying like an appeal down the road. I just found this. I'm going to look into this.
enforcement eventually finds somebody they believe committed the crime. That defendant could argue to the jury that the police failed to pursue leads, that they should have looked harder. They just fixated on this new person, the person who is arrested ultimately, when they should have been considering whether other people might have committed the crime. So by
Interesting. We got to play this again. I'm going to clip this too. This is crazy. Here we go.
Investigate Sione so much if it appears he didn't do it. I think there are actual legal explanations for that. In a 1995 case called Kyles v. Whitley, the U.S. Supreme Court said a defendant is entitled to present evidence that the police investigation was incomplete or flawed. So let's say law enforcement eventually finds somebody they believe committed the crime. That defendant could argue to the jury that the police failed to pursue leads, that they should have looked harder. They just fixated on this new person, the person who is arrested ultimately, when they should have been considering whether other people might have committed the crime. So by investigating Sione, law enforcement can legitimately say, we investigated thoroughly. We looked as hard as we could. We even looked at the idea that family members were involved, and they're not. Now I want to get to the three things about this case that I just can't make sense of. Tell me your thoughts in the comments, because I don't know. I'm trying to figure them out, but these are things that just don't seem to fit.
Okay, so maybe there isn't a way that the lawsuit, her reference, what she's referencing right now, the case, maybe it can't apply to Brian right now because he didn't go to court. It sounds like it's something to do with court, but it might be something with an appeal or something like that. I have to think about that. That's something that I have to let it sit for a little bit, maybe listen to it 18 times and see what I think about that. All right, here's her questions, and we're going to end with these.
Number 4, the timing to me makes no sense. According to a timeline released by the sheriff's office, there was a 40-minute gap between when Nancy Guthrie's doorbell was disconnected and when her pacemaker app disconnected from her phone, which you would think might mean she was being taken away from the property. Around 9:48 p.m., Sione drops Nancy Guthrie back off at her house at 9:50.
Okay, so what's up with the 40-minute time period gap? The 40-minute time period. Let me know in the chat. Do you think that the kidnappers, I'm going to put an S at the end of that because I think there's probably more than one, were in the house for 40 minutes? Do you think they were in the house for 40 minutes? If they were they looking for something? Is there something they were looking for? They don't want to call this a burglary. They have not called it a burglary. Maybe they didn't take anything, but maybe they were looking for something. Christina says yes. Okay. If you think no, they weren't looking for something, okay, the only reason there's this 40-minute gap is because of the pacemaker disconnecting from the phone. And I'm wondering, do we know that they have Nancy's phone? Do the cops have Nancy's phone? Because if they don't have Nancy's phone and Nancy and her phone left and then they chuck the phone out the window somewhere, then that means they weren't in the home for 40 minutes. It just took 40 minutes for them to get rid of the phone. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Hopefully the FBI has it. I know, but I don't think we know that for sure. So that's questionable, right? They're leading us to believe that these perpetrators were in the house for 40 minutes. But what if they weren't? They weren't in the house for 40 minutes. Maybe there's another explanation of how the phone got disconnected from her pacemaker. They were getting her dressed and a bag packed. Okay. If it's yes. So there's different possibilities. So looking for something, dressing her and packing her bags, or they weren't in the house for 40 minutes. It was stated that the iPhone was left in the home. Okay. That's the thing, Design Rhythm. Yeah, thank you for putting that. Okay. It's in this case, it's who said it? If it's one of the media people, they're like, my source, I have a source that says, so it's okay, we're just trusting your source. And then if it's the sheriff that says it, he said so many things that he's walked back. It's okay, it's just hard on this one. Hi, Amethyst Noir. One big issue is it highly unlikely to do an adequate quick IgG from the separation of a mixed profile. You would have a harder time completely separating. What they've been reporting, news, what the news media has been reporting through DNA experts, I know Brian Enton interviewed a DNA expert, and everybody is saying they're having a hard time separating. They cannot separate the two profiles, and that's what's taking so much time. So then you can't develop, develop that profile. They can't separate the DNAs, I guess. I'm just saying, this is what they're telling us, Twiz. That's what they're telling us. Othram can do it in 48 hours, right? They can do it in 48 hours. Someone else heard that the phone was in the garage. See, I don't know. I mean, I think it would be dumb to take her phone with you, but I also think it's dumb to walk face forward up to a doorbell camera. And think about that. Think about that, you guys. You're going to, I think I'm going to end with this thought, because I usually, my voice gets a little tired and start petering out around, and I like to keep it around 2 hours. So just let's end with this. You are a, kidnapper, and you have this all planned out that you're going to go in and get this little old lady out of this house because you're going to kidnap her. Are you going to go to the front door, camera or not? Are you going to go to the front door that's facing a street, even though I know it's pitch black out there? But you're still taking the chance that a car could come driving by. And I don't care what time of night it is. You're still taking that, whether it's a 1% chance. So let alone walking up face forward, facing a camera on a front porch. That is idiotic to me. Aren't you going to, creep in the bushes, undetected, and enter into the house in the most sneaky, quiet way possible? Doesn't make sense. But then here they are releasing that ridiculous photo or videos, and now they're changing the information about it. They first put it out like, here's the night of the kidnapping, and now 2-3 weeks later they're like, oh no, wait, those are two separate nights. Never mind, those are two separate nights. It's crazy. You're dealing with a criminal super genius here. Something. I think it's awfully fishy. The whole thing. Nancy Grace, there's a forensic expert which caught the perp possibly signaling to someone off to the side when he was gathering the shrubs. Yes. If you watch that video, even in my opinion, I don't know if he's signaling. Some people think that he flashes that mouth light. I think he looks like off towards the road, like he's looking at somebody. I don't know. There is so much to discuss in this case. And it looks like we're not going to get anything. I mean, up till today, we were like, wait for the DNA results. And now they're saying the DNA results are no good. They're having a very hard time with the DNA. So now what? Are they? And a lot of people have been saying, I mean, I'm telling you, I've tried to share all the theories that I've been hearing out there. Some people do think this is a politically motivated thing. And, if she was taken and she is being taken care of, and it's just like a leverage type of thing, she'll be released. I've heard a theory where some people think she'll be released after this Thursday and Friday. I'm not saying I believe these theories. I'm just telling you the theories that are out there that I've heard. Do you know what's happening Thursday and Friday? Reminds of Idaho 4, where Ethan and Xana were home at one Friday, and now we still don't know when they came home, right? Design rhythm. Exactly. It could be related to the cartel with everything that's going on. I mean, it's weird that it's Nancy Guthrie. It makes sense that it's Tucson, Arizona, but it's weird, I think, that it's Nancy Guthrie. I'm thinking the cartel is mad at the government. The cartel is mad at Mexico's government and the United States. Let's just say the presidents. They have to be mad at our president and they have to be mad at Mexico's president because they're the ones that ultimately made this hit happen for the cartel. So if you're the cartel and you want to get back at all of that situation, unless there's more to it that I'm not thinking of. What kind of cartel would kidnap, especially a grandma? I don't know. Who knows? If it's like cartel activity like that, that's related with Nancy, I think it's like a low level person that was like basically just a criminal. Someone used a criminal to do the kidnapping, and it could be someone who's not a criminal yet that hired the criminal to do the kidnapping. Like I see that part of it, right? That's true, Twiz. That's true. That's true. Yep. All right. So I asked you guys, do you know what's happening Thursday and Friday? So we know that the Epstein files have been released, and we know that there is criminal activity connected to information that's in those files and to that person himself. And that's the true crime information about that whole scenario that I'm interested in. And Hillary Clinton is testifying about the Epstein files on this Thursday. And I believe it's going to be broadcast at their request. They want it to be public. I don't think they want anything to be manipulated. So we're going to get to see the whole testimony. And then Bill Clinton is Friday. So that's what I'm going to be showing. I got to find out what times and everything. So Thursday and Friday, those are going to be my topics. There's quite a few true crime stories related to that whole thing. I started watching a documentary last night. It's an older one from like 2020 on Jeffrey Epstein. And I mentioned last week Les Wexner, who was associated with Jeffrey Epstein. He also just had to give like a deposition or testified to Congress himself. So they're starting to call these people out and get questioned and get information. The documentary that I'm watching about him, I think it's called like The Riches or something like that, but it really explains Les Wexner's involvement with that whole scene. So yeah, the true crime part of that is going to start come out. Have you seen his attorney? No. Well, I guess I have. I didn't watch his testimony all the way through, but I saw I heard bits and pieces, and I couldn't with the I don't recall, I don't remember kind of stuff. But thanks, Michael Rizzo. Hello. Nick Reiner's going back to court. Okay. I didn't really follow that one too closely. But yeah, we covered a lot today. So if you joined late, rewind and look at, I thought it was really fascinating information about El Mencho and his childhood, his upbringing, how he became El Mencho, and then his whole cartel ring, and then his capture, and then some information about just like how that affects us in the United States and like globally. And then we covered some quick little things about, thanks, Dago, I'll see you later. Some little things about Nancy Guthrie and we'll just keep watching that one. That's all I can say. We'll keep watching that one. I know Lana showed the whole Les Wexner deposition interview. She did. I'm sure that's where I watched the clips of it. Yeah. And I believe, just give her a little plug, Truth and Transparency over there. She was going, I don't know if she did it yesterday or if she's doing it today, but she's going to, I can't remember the name of the town. There's a town near Columbus where Les Wexner lived, I believe. And she was going to go to some of the like key points. So yeah, I have a couple things in my back pocket that I'm going to share about that whole Les Wexner situation and some true crime stories. So they'll be coming out, but I'm going to clock out for now. And I appreciate everyone who was in here hanging out, whether you were like doing chores around the house, listening from work, chatting away in chat. I appreciate all of you, all the mods who are in here. I appreciate you greatly. Love you all. And thanks for putting Truth and Transparency's link in there for sure. Yep. And have a great rest of your day, everybody. You're just waking up, Tomboy. Good morning, rise and shine. I'm sure I'll catch you later. I'll be chatting with you later, but have a great day, everybody. And I will see you back here tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. And please hit that thumbs up button on your way out. I appreciate that. All right. Bye.
Thanks for watching, hope you felt the spark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. Subscribe, it's free and keeps us going strong. You're part of the crew now, right where you belong. Join us next time, same truth, same fire. We bring the heat and never tire. We're typically unique and proud to be a husband and wife in podcast harmony. That could be unique, yeah, that's you and me. Don't forget to like and hit subscribe, it's free. Come back again, we'll be right here with truth and laughs and zero fear. We don't always agree, but that's the show. One love, two minds, letting it flow. We dig deep with crack jokes, we called it like we see. If that's your vibe, you belong here with me. We don't always agree, but that's the show. One love, two minds, letting it flow. We dig deep with crack jokes, we call it like we see. If that's your vibe, you belong here with me. We don't always agree, but you felt the spark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. We dig deep with crack jokes, we call it like we see. If that's your vibe, you belong here with me. Thanks for watching, hope you felt the spark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. It's free, it keeps us going strong. You're part of the crew, now right where you belong. Join us next time, same truth, same fire. We bring the heat and never tire. We're typically unique and proud to be a husband and wife and proud to be a husband and wife in podcast harmony. Yeah, that's you and me, that's you and me. Don't forget to like, hit subscribe, it's free. Come back again, we'll be right here with truth and laughs and zero fear.